food for your characters. Hi, I'm Kaitlyn Turnboo, the author tuber that helps you write, market, and publish a book the right way the first time. Happy Valentine's Day! Tomorrow, my favorite candy stops selling. I'm gonna stay positive though, like most of you single people should. But because of this holiday, I cooked up a video that had to do with romance. And in this video, I am talking about how to write a strong love interest. A very, very important aspect of a romance plot or subplot. When you are done with this video, the next one you're going to want to go to is how to write romance, which will give you general tips on just how to write romance, period. And it is my most viewed video on my channel, so you might want to check it out just to see why. Before I get into my 10 tips on how to write a good love interest, make sure to hit that subscribe button because there is an important giveaway for you at the end of this video. Number 1, they need to be a good character by themselves. All plots aside, this character is a person on their own. So when you're doing your pre-writing and you're outlining and you're starting to create your characters and you're doing, personalities, hobbies, what they look like, you should think of them separately outside of the romance. Yeah, you probably already know that they're going to be, the main character's main love interest. But in order to make the love interest relatable as well, likable, and to write just a good relationship, they are a person on their own as well. They have their flaws, they have their perfections, they have their tiny habits that they do, biting their lip, playing with their hair. Those are some common ones. Basically all the rules on creating a regular character and a regular protagonist will apply here. And I've got several videos on this. How to create a good character is popping up somewhere. Number 2, common ground. A lot of authors forget this, and a lot of young teenagers forget this too, sorry. You should make a couple characteristics that the two love interests have in common. Just a few, not everything. That's what a clone is. Maybe they're both athletic. That's a common one. Maybe they both love comedy movies. That's a fun one. Basically, they need something to bond them. They kind of need to speak each other's language. If you know what I mean, when two video gamers are talking to each other, but people who don't play video games are around them, you usually don't know what the ish they're talking about. Yeah, that needs to be happening. Okay, they need to just be going on about some sort of common ground. Maybe the characters don't know what they have in common yet, so they got that awkward first date. Those are always interesting to read. But you know that there is something they have in common and that they can talk about for hours on end with each other and get to know the rest of the quirks based off that common ground. Number 3, make sure your love interest is your character's type. As you are creating your character, because you watched that video I gave you, you're going on their history. Even though you're not going to write their history in the book, most likely, you still need to know their history and why they got there. I'll mention that in that video. But as you're thinking about that, you're going to want to know, you're going to want to think of their exes too. Okay, what does your character, main character, and love interest find attractive? What is their type? And is that type the love interest? Do they normally go for super fit or heavy set? Blonde or brunette? D's or A? Blue eyes or brown? These are shallow, common examples, but maybe they go for people in power, aliens, party animals, loners. What are they into? You need to know that. The main reason for this step is to try to make sure that love interest isn't your type, because your type is not your character's type. If you try to make it your type instead of the love interest's type, and you skip this step, then readers are going to be able to tell, and they're not going to see why these people are together. It's obvious they're not attracted to each other because you are attracted to the love interest, not your character. 4, they complete each other. They make each other better. It is a common saying and a common feeling that when people are around the person they love, they feel like they're a better person. They kind of act like a better person. Even after you've been together years, they still lift up your negative traits that you have, and you lift up theirs, and they make your positive traits more there. And that needs to happen in your characters. An example, one flaw of your main character may be that they're rude and your love interest is not. After being around them for a while, it starts to rub off that maybe they're less rude. And they need to, give and take the same. Everything needs to be 50-50. Again, shallow example, but I hope you kind of get where I'm going. And don't forget about the good traits, because there's that too. Number 5, introduce the love interest early. This creates tension, which is very important. This helps for a slow build, which is very important and happens to be the next step. I suggest introducing the love interest early. Make them forced to be by each other, whether they like it or not, because they could hate it. Sit next to each other during a class, work together, go to the same gym, maybe something that draws with what they have in common. This will make the reader root for the romance from early on, and then they'll be begging for more and more and more, and thus keep flipping your pages, Number 6, slow build. I love slow build, and I am not the only one. They should not say I love you before chapter 10, unless your chapters are like 100 pages each. Make me beg for a kiss. Make me feel excited when they start to hold hands. The slow build makes for a much more entertaining read. And even though when they almost kiss but don't, I'm gonna be cussing you out, in the end, that's why we read books. Number 7, show attraction and affection. Show. Don't tell. It is harder to show. It takes more brain power to show. You can say that the character thinks they're hot, but experiencing them being hot is way better. What do people do when they're around their crush? Well, they study their words, they play with their hair, they play with their fingers, they kind of suck in their gut, they hold their breath. Not only that, when I'm checking them out, I don't always look at their bulging biceps. Whenever I check someone out, I don't look at the same body part every time. Maybe I'm weird, but when your character is checking them out, don't always mention the obvious place that they're the most attracted to. Maybe their back looks nice. Maybe their hair looks nice. Maybe it's their eyes. Maybe it's their collarbone. Something that just gets them lusting. Make it weird. Come on, get weird here. And it doesn't just have to be looks. Maybe they smell nice. They're warm to touch. They're funny. That kind of stuff. It gets a little bit deeper. How do you act when you're right next to the person you have a huge crush on? You don't really act yourself. And you don't feel yourself either. There's some stuff going on in your body. That is what your character needs to be experiencing when they're next to this love interest. Don't just say they're hot. Don't just describe their looks. Describe how your character feels when they're right next to them and what your character is thinking. Me, when I'm around them, I'm thinking, don't mess up. Don't mess up. Don't you dare mess up. Now showing, especially with affection, see I got attraction down, now we're going to affection. That can be hard. It's hard to handle, it's hard to describe just on your own, right? Like, it's already feelings that come rare and are confusing and wild, and it's why we love it. But that just makes it so much harder to put it in words. But I have a tutorial on how to write kissing scenes. I actually have 2 videos on that one. And I go through step by step on how to basically show, don't tell, how to kiss, which will teach you how to do affection in all sorts of ways, basically. I give you exercises, I give you tips. Just go check it out. It's a cool video. And it's also the 2nd watched video on my channel. So go check it out. Number 8, please make it a healthy relationship. Now here's my argument. Yeah, I have an argument for this one. Okay, so you've probably heard a lot of writers complain around AuthorTube about how they don't like the unhealthy, abusive relationships, and I am in that boat with them. I'm going to go back to school a few years ago when I learned about this thing called theme. And basically what my teacher told me is the theme of your story is basically the lesson you're trying to teach the reader. Now most of us are trying to entertain. I'm teaching mostly fiction writers here, but there is still a theme. The character learns something, and thus the reader also gets a takeaway from that. I have experienced unhealthy relationships. I've seen unhealthy relationships and how it has destroyed people. I don't want to put that crap into my readers' heads. Instead, I personally would rather teach my readers what a healthy relationship is, even through the crap I'm going to put my characters through, because I'm evil. How do they act? How do they respect each other? What does 50-50 look like? Because not all people know. That is my big, touching speech on that. Also, healthy relationships, your reader just roots for them more. At least me as a reader, I root for the characters to be together and for them to get through all the bull crap more when they are a healthy relationship and they fit together. Number 9, avoid cliches and negative tropes. Cliches and negative tropes are disliked, as you can tell. You're going to want to avoid them when you're building the connection and your love interest. Now, there are some tropes that some people like and other people don't like. They'll intermix. But what I suggest you do is you go to YouTube and you type in worst romance tropes, and what you'll find is a bunch of writers about what their big pet peeves or what they hate about romance or love interest, what they don't like. You can even do best romance tropes and find out what they do like. And then you can kind of get an idea on what readers are looking for, because it's right there. And usually they're around the same. For instance, love triangles is everyone gives it the middle finger. Everyone gives unhealthy relationships a middle finger too. So that is a great way for you to find what people like and dislike and, put that into your book. Now, there are going to be some mixed opinions. Still write your heart out. I have a worst romance tropes if you want to find out mine. This will tell you what the trend is, especially if you can find more recent uploaded videos, which that one's recent, by the way, so go check it out. Number 10, actually give the love interest attention in your book. There's a couple books I've read where the love interest is just a love interest. It's very 2D. The reader does not get to know this character. He, she is just kind of there, if that makes sense. Like, there's the protagonist and he never really thinks about her, never really talks about her. She's there, maybe at the beginning, doesn't pop up at all until the end and suddenly they're married. Or the only time you see this love interest is when they're making out. Or maybe she's a damsel in distress. Or maybe the protagonist has to save the love interest, but they're gone the whole time. You don't actually get to know the character. The reader needs to get to know the love interest on its own as a character as well. So that way they also will understand that, hey, as if like your characters were their friends. This friend and this friend should go together. Oh, but I'm reading them coming together, so I'm going to root for them. A slow build and going through your characterization correctly will definitely solve this problem. Alright, you made it to the end, and now for my giveaway. I'm giving away a $100 Amazon Visa card once we hit 1,000 subscribers. All you have to do to enter is subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, and comment what your favorite Valentine's Day candy is. Yep, not about writing this time. Then whoosh, you're done. Because the winner is chosen at random, feel free to go on all my other videos and like or respond to their questions just so you'll have more chances to win. Come on, it's $100.